Hello and welcome back to Bigfoot Lake. I'm so glad you could stop by. Tonight we share a very somber story. It's one of terrible tragedy and even greater mystery. At the close of the story, we will have a look at a recently released CIA document describing this incident. I hope you can stick around for that. It's quite mysterious and yet very sorrowful. With that being said, pull up a stump and get comfortable as we dive into tonight's story. In December of 1948, a distress call was broadcasted from a Dutch vessel which was sailing the Strait of Malacca. This is the same area where Malaysian Airlines flight MH370 disappeared in 2014. A nearby ship, the Silver Star, heard the call for help. It was a Morse code SOS from a signaler on board the SS Ourang Medan. This was the haunting message. All officers, including the captain, are dead, lying in chart room and bridge. Possibly whole crew dead. I die. When sailors found the SS Ourang Medan, what they found was nothing short of a nightmare. The entire ship was scattered with the dead, all with bulging eyes and terrified expressions on their faces. Their mouths were wide open, as if caught in the middle of a scream, and their arms were outstretched, almost as if they were reaching out for something. To make things even more bizarre, the bodies showed no signs of injuries, nothing that could have caused their deaths. Rescuers attempted to tow the SS Ourang Medan back to port, but before they could even begin their task, a massive fire broke out, followed by an explosion. The SS Ourang Medan disappeared below the surface of those waters, a watery grave for so many. The story doesn't end there. Perhaps it will never truly end. To this day, no trace of the ship has ever been found. Some even question if the SS Ourang Medan even existed. There is no mention of her in the maritime list of shipping, and even further, there were no records on the Silver Star detailing the attempted rescue of the ship. Adding to the mystery, the Coast Guard didn't report this incident until May of 1954, 6 years after the vessel sank. 6 years later. Curiosity gave birth to questions. Why so long after? 6 long years before reporting this. Why? As we go along with our story tonight, you're going to find that's a common theme. Questions. More questions. Why? Was something perhaps being covered up? Some believe so. 6 long years is a substantial amount of time to cover something up. What could have caused the ill-fated ship and crew's demise? Some blame toxic gas bubbling up from the seabed, overwhelming the crew and possibly even causing the explosion. Others blamed the supernatural. In 2013, a CIA document discussing the incident was released to the public. It was written by C.H. Mark Jr., assistant to the director of the CIA, Alan Dulles. It was penned in 1959 and addressed to an unknown recipient. let's have a closer look at that document. As you can see at the top of the page, this document was dated December 5th of 1959. The document reads, "On May 29th, 1958, I sent you a letter concerning crews disappearing from ships on the high seas, or ships which have disappeared without trace. Well, I have just read a weird story concerning the Dutch vessel, the SS Ourang Medan. I will be indeed grateful for your opinion of this story. Also, do you think something from the unknown is involved?" In early February 1948, an SOS came from the SS Ourang Medan. Dutch and British listening posts located the vessel as proceeding through Malacca Strait. The sea was calm, the weather clear. SOS, SOS, again came the frenzied call. After a short silence, all officers, including Captain dead, lying in chart room and on bridge, probably whole crew dead. There followed a series of indecipherable dots and dashes, and then came quite clearly, "I die." Rescue ships from Dutch Sumatra and British Malaya rushed to the indicated location of the vessel in distress. They found her only 50 miles from the position given. Boats were put over the sides to investigate. When boarding parties reached the Ourang Medan, they found an eerie sight. There wasn't a living creature on the ship. The captain lay dead on the bridge. The bodies of the other officers sprawled in the wheelhouse, chart room, and wardroom. The faithful Sparks was slumped in a chair in the radio shack, his hand still on the sending key. The bodies of the crew lay everywhere, in their rooms, in the passageways, on the decks. And on all the dead faces was a look of convulsive horror. As a report of the proceedings of the Merchant Marine Council put it, their frozen faces were upturned to the sun. The mouths were gaping open and the eyes staring. Everyone was dead. Even the ship's dog, a small terrier, was lifeless, its teeth bared in anger or agony. But strangely, there was no sign of wounds or injuries on any of the bodies. After a quick conference, the boarding parties decided to put a tow line onto the vessel and take her into port. But at that very moment, smoke and flames belched forth from number 4 hold. The fire was immediately so hot and so widespread that it was impossible to subdue. The boarding parties hurriedly abandoned the vessel and returned to safety of their own ships. Moments later, there was a terrific explosion on the Ourang Medan, and then the vessel sank with all her dead crew. I feel sure that the SS Ourang Medan tragedy holds the answer to many of these airplane accidents and unsolved mysteries of the sea. Also, I have thought about the many sightings of huge fiery spheres rising from the sea or disappearing into the sea by ships, captains, and crews in the 18th and 19th centuries. There are alarming passages in Old English chronicles written in medieval Latin and in Latin incunabula, or books printed before the year 1500 AD, which suggest that these fiery spheres cause destruction and that they come from within our planet. For instance, in 216 BC, things like ships were seen in the sky over Italy. In Sardinia, a knight was making his rounds, inspecting the posts guarding the rampart, when a stick in his hands burst into flames. The same thing happened to Roman soldiers in Sicily, who saw their javelins flame and burn in their hands. At Arpi, a round shield was seen in the sky. Also, in AD 1067, people saw a fire that flamed and burned fiercely in the sky. It came near the earth and for a little time brilliantly lit up. Afterwards, it revolved, ascended on high, then descended into the sea. In several places, it burned woods and plains. Yes, the enchanting sea. What terrifying secret does it hold? I feel sure that the SS Ourang Medan tragedy also holds the answer to this secret. Sincerely yours, C.H. Mark, Jr., Assistant to the Director, Central Intelligence Agency, Washington, D.C. That is quite an amazing document. This document appears to leave us with more questions than answers. That's the common theme of the Ourang Medan mystery. Let's take some time and examine several of these questions. First, in this article, this letter from C.H. Mark Jr., what was he referring to as something from the unknown? The possibilities are a breeding ground of mystery and conspiracy. Do you have any possible theories? Leave a comment of your thoughts on this first question of something from the unknown. I'd like to hear your thoughts. Second question. What could have caused all of the crew's faces to be frozen in such a state of terror or even agony? Is there a natural answer to this question? Possibly even toxic gases being released from the ocean floor? Perhaps these gases not only killed the crew, but then proceeded to build up in the lower chambers of the vessel, leading to the fiery explosion which sank the ship? Or does it point more towards that something from the unknown? This search for a cause leads us down a rabbit hole of possibilities, and yet even more questions. What are these fiery spheres rising from the sea or disappearing into the sea? There is so much documented history of these fiery sightings of the unknown. Even very recently, when a sphere was supposedly shot down over Russia. Is it possible these spheres are part of the answer to the SS Ourang Medan mystery? Perhaps all of this is of extraterrestrial origin? Could the fate of the Ourang Medan be linked to the terrible tragedy of the Malaysian Airlines flight MH370? This plane, along with all of its crew and passengers, disappeared in the same area as the SS Ourang Medan in 2014. Could this same something from the unknown be responsible? So many unanswered questions. Is something being covered up? Possibly even a multinational effort to hide something? Perhaps a military action gone wrong? What would happen if in more recent times we took a sample back to our labs and not only didn't know what we had, but we couldn't put the genie back in the bottle? We couldn't contain it. We couldn't control it. Was the SS Ourang Medan possibly sank to keep a dangerous pathogen, or something even more sinister from spreading to our shores. Just like something out of the X-Files. The SS Ourang Medan and her crew may very well be resting in their watery grave, but we can keep their memory alive by sharing their story. I hope you enjoyed tonight's mystery of the SS Ourang Medan. Let me know in the comments any thoughts or theories you may have. Hope you have a great night, and we will see you next time.